Hello, this is Spartan from Spartan Games, and today we're going to be doing another Spartan review. I am so excited! I just watched How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World, and I want to talk to you guys about it real quick. We'll do like we did for the Aquaman. We'll do a segment where it's completely without spoilers, and then I'll have a little like spoiler warning, and then we'll do the section where I talk about the story and all that. So, for those of you that don't want to be spoiled, the next 5 minutes or so, that's for you, and then the next 10, 15, that's going to be for everyone else. So, first off, holy crap, amazing movie. This series, that little series of 3 movies, is going to go down as one of the best series of animated movies in history. I have no doubt of that. This third one especially, so much stuff happened. It was a story that had a story regarding just a little side topic about living up to expectations set down from your legacy and so on, so on, so on, that kind of thing. Then they had the side thing with Toothless and his girlfriend and all that relationship kind of stuff. It was, and then just a lot of the kind of, for lack of a better term, like slapstick kind of comedy I've come to expect from the How to Train Your Dragons, because a big thing I really liked is I really liked the Race to the Edge, How to Train Your Dragon show, which is on Netflix if you guys want to check it out. But I love that, and although the second movie was like the culmination of that story with Drago coming in with his army, this movie, in terms of tone, felt much more like the culmination of that show. This movie was very much the culmination of everything that's happened in the series. They made callbacks all the way back to the very, very first movie. And then the stuff that really, really got me, we had some flashback moments. We saw in the trailer a couple flashback moments with Stoic, and hearing Gerard Butler's beautiful accent. I can't do it, obviously, as you just heard. But hearing that accent and seeing him as Stoic again is like made me be like, ah! I was so excited to see it. But there's not really a whole lot I can discuss without getting into spoilers. So all in all, what I am going to say is this movie, absolutely fantastic. Go watch it yourself, please. And I'm going to move into our spoiler warning right now. So, spoilers! Alright, now we're going to talk spoilers. As I already said, I talked about some of the slapstick comedy. Our very beginning scene was full of that. It jumped right into the action. We had what started off, it was a raid on a dragon catching ship. Dragon tracker, hunter, catcher, whatever you want to call them, ship, and they're like, demon! Because in the trailer we see they have this really, really cool new dragon scale armor with the helmets that makes them fireproof, and it looks fantastic, but it also makes them look kind of intimidating when they're walking through fire with a dragon, and which is absolutely fantastic. Another bit of thing that I want to talk about was these little tiny dragons. We call them the Hobgobblers. They provided a nice source of continual comedy throughout the movie with a interaction they had with Gobber. Siren. Anyway, continual interaction with Gobber, because when the Hobgobbler first shows up, it's like, the Hobgobbler, we're cursed. And then throughout the entire movie, every time he sees the Hobgobbler, there's like 5 more of them. And towards the very end, he's like, where the hell are y'all coming from? And then it becomes a nice little moment where the Hobgobblers like help save the day, and it's amazing. All right, this is going to be one of the few things I have to say about the movie that I did not like. Where they did this in the second movie as well. They didn't do it in the first movie, but they did it in How to Train Your Dragon 2, and I wasn't a big fan of it there either. They had this odd love triangle going on between some of the side characters. It also didn't help that I'm not a big fan of one of the side characters, but it was between Erlet, Snotlout, and Hiccup's mom, which was weird for me anyway, because it's like, really? She's old enough to be your mother, Snotlout. That's kind of bizarre. But I didn't like that. There was Snotlout just kept vying for her attention and was like seemed like he was trying to compete with Eric for it. I was not a big fan of that. So that's one of the few things I have to say about that. Also, I'm not a big fan of Snotlout. I really like Eric because he's Jon Snow, but I was not a big fan of that. They could have done without that. There was a very quick scene also close to the beginning when we were getting introduced to our main villain, which I really liked, where we had this big overhead panning shot like they absolutely love in this series of the villain of the big bad's main hideout, if you will, and I'm like 90% sure that it was Stonehenge, which is really interesting to me. It was like this big like arena, but Stonehenge was still built, so it's like, oh, something destroyed Stonehenge later in history. But it's very interesting. I liked that kind of throwaway scene. I thought it was very cool. Something they also kept doing throughout, it was something they did big time in Race to the Edge, which is another reason this had a similar vibe. Toothless continually trying to eat Hiccup's leg. His fake leg. And Hiccup losing his leg and all this. It's something I really like about the series. It's able to have fun with itself. I want to talk about the villain for a second. It was called Grimmore the Grizzly. Grimmore the Grizzly. And he was a very cool villain. I liked him a lot. He was a very generic big bad, kind of Drago 2.0. There wasn't a whole lot of depth to his character. A good way to think of it is he's Hiccup if Hiccup went bad. Because as he said, he was like, I was like you, but when a Night Fury fell at my feet, when a Night Fury appeared at my feet, I didn't chicken out, and I killed it. And from that moment on, I made it my mission to kill all of them. So that was a very cool moment. He's also kind of a mercenary, which was very cool. But I got big Van Helsing vibes from him, just in the way his equipment was, and the way his clothing was, and just some of his mannerisms. He reminded me a lot of the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman, just in the way that he was as a character. But he also had a very odd accent that made me think more Dracula. So that was an odd. His accent was very weird. I couldn't really place it. I feel like I haven't quite heard it before, but it was very like Eastern European villain, which was kind of bizarre. All right, and then we had the Light Fury, the female counterpart to Toothless. Right off the bat, this was another thing I really appreciated about this film. It, instead of leading us on and then it being like, oh no, she's how they were able to defeat you, or how we were able to lead to this climax. Right in the beginning, they said, as soon as we were introduced to Grimmore, said, I'm going to use her as bait. And so then from that moment on, every scene that she was in, regardless of how I was feeling, regardless of the music I was playing, and I was like, oh yay, Toothless! Regardless of that, I was just like, the tension was really high, and I was like, okay, this is happy. When are they going to pull it out from under us? And it was just a very good method of storytelling, because I'm not a big fan of that type of twist where it's like, oh yes, this was our magical MacGuffin. Because in movies that you do have the MacGuffin that allows you to succeed and all that stuff, but the villains usually have some form of MacGuffin in there as well, and I'm not a big fan of when they make it like that kind of just traitor switch. Also, one thing I did want to... I keep saying that a lot, I realize. The villain's dragons, Grimmore's dragons that he had, I liked them. Their design was very cool. It was very reminiscent of... I forget what they were called. I think they were called Stalkers in Race to the Edge. There were these ones that could cloak and camouflage. These ones weren't able to do that, but they had some similar aspects, mainly the acid spray. But then apparently their venom can also be used to control dragons, which was a very interesting twist. I was very surprised that they went that route. I was a little... I feel like it was a necessary story element to explain why Toothless wouldn't be able to control them, since he's now the king of all dragons and the alpha. But that was just something I was kind of like, eh. This is going to be the last thing I want to talk about before I get into the finale of the film, which was abso-freaking-lutely amazing. We saw it in the trailer when Toothless was like charging up with lightning, and it was like, ah! I said this to myself when I saw the trailer, and I think of it even more now. But that reminded me a lot of the Skrill in Race to the Edge as well, which is this big dragon, which was like kind of it's kind of like a boss of the week, villain of the week kind of thing. And it was just a very, very cool adversary. It did lightning instead of fire, and it was just a very cool thing. Also, now we have this cool new power of not just the Night Furies, not just the Light Furies, but the Night Furies as well. They can all do that little fire blast cloak thing. So yeah, that was a very interesting thing. I wasn't a big fan of that, just that concept, but I felt it was executed well. I'm not a big fan of things cloaking, because it feels kind of cheap. It feels like a cheap way of saying, I'm not a big fan of cloaking or teleportation or anything like that, because it feels like a cheap way to get your protagonist from one spot to another. But I want to talk about this finale. So all throughout the entire movie, we had all these hints about the relationship between Hiccup and Astrid, and then mirrored in that Toothless and the Light Fury. But all in that we had Tough Nut, the male twin, who was being very trying to guide Hiccup towards becoming a Viking and suitable marriage material. And so those were some good moments of comedy where he was trying to do that. But at the end of the film, we finally got the long-awaited Hiccup and Astrid marriage. And it was worth it. As soon as the camera panned up and over and we saw it, I was like, yay! And it brought me back from a very, very sad point, because the scene right before that is all of the Burkians send their dragons away because they know that if their dragons stay, they'll be killed or they'll be hunted or something like that. So they send their dragons away to keep the dragons safe, and they send them off to the hidden world. We only see the hidden world once, which I was kind of sad about that, because I mean it was called the hidden world and we only saw the place once. But it was all about getting the dragons to safety, not about saving the humans. So also towards the very end, there was some kind of social commentary on there, which I'll talk about at the very end of this. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so we sent the dragons. So they sent the dragons away, and then we had the Astrid Hiccup wedding, which was absolutely amazing, and I was cheering the whole time, just like yay! And then the very next scene, I lost my freaking mind. We see Hiccup and Astrid on a boat sailing out into the mist, and on the boat with them are two small children. And it's their kids. And Hiccup has a glorious beard. And he's wearing this... He looks like a mixture of Stoic and how he looked in... He looks like a mixture of Stoic and then how he looked in Race to the Edge. And it's amazing. And they're out on this boat, and then you look through the mist, and the mist kind of parts a little bit. And Toothless is standing there on a rock with the Light Fury, and then these three tiny little baby dragon heads pop up, and they're little baby Night Furies, and it was like, ah! And then there's a brief moment where Hiccup didn't remember him, but then he does, and then he and Astrid take the kids on a flight, and the kids are like, woo! And it was just so cool. I absolutely loved it. And then the very last thing is, the dragons will be in hiding until we can learn to get along. telling kids that if you get along with each other, dragons will come back. But it was, all in all, it was a fantastic movie. If you have not gone and seen it yet, go see it. It's amazing. And that's all the like story spoilers and stuff I want to talk about. But as always, animation quality on point, sound design on point, everything absolutely gorgeous. It was amazing. I'm gonna leave this video here. If you guys like this, dropping stuff. If you guys like this, please leave a like and a comment down below. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you get notified when I post new stuff. I'll see all of you in the next video. Stay Spartan strong. Aroo! Aroo! Aroo!